afternoon. Time to have a look at the markets picture. As it stands, Asian markets were mixed, and this follows the strong gains that we saw on Wall Street that basically took major stock indices to record highs. The Nikkei in Japan at this particular point down 0.7%, and in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index rising marginally 0.1%. When we look at the picture of what's happening in Europe, it's a similar picture where markets in Europe are looking very muted at this particular point as investors wait out to see the key reading of U.S. inflation data. U.S. stock futures at this point fractionally lower, again following the gains that we saw yesterday. Locally, our focus shifts to the medium-term budget policy statement on Thursday. Everyone's going to be listening out at 2 p.m. for the new Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, basically to assess as to whether we might see him follow the same policy stance as his predecessor. But to talk to us about the week, especially what we can expect going into that medium-term budget policy statement, we are joined by Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, thank you so much for your time. As we start off the week and looking at some of the themes that may have rolled out from last week into this week, how is the JSE faring at this point?
Good afternoon to you. At this point, I think we're following our international peers. We're just muted. And as you said in your intro, it's the issue of the inflation numbers. Today, we should be getting the producer price index coming out of the U.S. And tomorrow, we'll all be waiting to see or to try to get some clues when it comes to the consumer inflation in the U.S. And also not forgetting that we had the Fed speakers coming out there, the officials as speakers, just to try to see the guys how unified they are or how solid the consensus is for them to be keeping interest rates for low for now. So it's more of the inflation issue, because we know that as much as they mentioned that they should be started tapering bit by bit, but the biggest issue here is interest rates. When will they start raising interest rates?
So on SENS earlier today, there were quite a bit of company news that came out, but let's start off with one that caught my attention. Telkom interim results. Their mobile business continuing to be the standout performer, despite the fact of the COVID-19 squeeze that we have seen affect businesses, in particular Telkom as well. But what did you make of Telkom's financials?
You are right. This is a company that has just been in the news because it was rumored that the likes of MTN are looking to buy them out. But yes, they continue to deliver some solid growth when it comes to their earnings. As we know that consumers continue to be under pressure, just like small, medium enterprises, because some of them were liquidated and were one of the hardest hit. And also when you look at the likes of the BCX, not doing that well, as corporates continue not to spend money when it comes to IT. And as a result, Telkom is looking for partners to try to see them more of a strategy. And remember, they acquired 2015. But the long and short, their profits were impressive, up 30.4%, all because of the low finance charges and also fair movement when it comes to prices, and also the fact that we have seen that the guys, when it comes to their EBITDA margin, is almost at 28%. But was impressive. You look at their fiber to the home, the connectivity rate sitting at almost 46.9%, and seemingly is one of the highest.
Earlier, we saw an announcement, with Northern Platinum looking to acquire 33.3% of RB Plat. Does this particular deal look great, I suppose, for the RB Plat shareholders? Does it look better than what it would have been an Implat acquisition versus this one? I mean, what do you make of it?
I think it was more of what is happening with the Royal Bafokeng Holdings, because currently guys, they hold 36.1%, and the Northern guys, after buying all that, Royal Bafokeng Holdings will have a direct ownership of almost 2.8%. So it bodes well for Royal Bafokeng Holdings themselves, not other shareholders. Hence, we didn't even see the share price reacting, though the price is very attractive at almost 180 per share. And we know that that's when the share price was around 120, 126. But the Impala one was different in the sense that was going to be a total buyout and also delist the company. And as well as you look at their operations, there are good synergies, and the guys were going to end up being the biggest, doing almost 3.5 million ounces per year, better than what the likes of Sibanye are doing, better than also what the likes of Anglo Platinum are doing. So yes, for Royal Bafokeng Holdings themselves, I think they got a better deal because they'll continue to have even an indirect stake, because they'll end up also having 8.7% of Northam shares.
So yesterday we saw a trading update in the afternoon from MultiChoice, and I'm curious, what do you make of MultiChoice as a share? Is this one that you would consider holding or not?
It's very worrisome. As much as the guys can continue to increase the subscriber numbers, we can start seeing that some advertising revenue is starting to come in. But this whole black cloud hanging, the tax issue claims the penalties there in Nigeria of almost 64 billion. I mean, that's far more than the market value itself of MultiChoice, which is sitting at 52 billion. I think up until that gets to be resolved, I think we're going to continue to have problems. And yes, anyway, their earnings were even affected by a stronger rand and also by high operational costs, and expected to go down by almost 40%.
Right. So as we kick off the week, I mean, what company news or even economic events that you'll be paying attention to?
As you said in your intro, I think, we'll be concentrating on the midterm budget speech come Thursday. And here the issue is, as much as we know the guys are looking at doing some basic income grant or family grant, they will be worried about the fiscus, the spending thereof, and that potentially can weaken the rand. As we know that the government, the business have been trying to contain spending, and also expect to hear how far they are with the issue for people to be able to withdraw a certain percentage when it comes to their pensions, and we just need to see how far this whole thing is.
All right, thank you so much, Makwe. And as we want to add on to what he'll be looking out for, we are expecting US PPI figures to come out, as well as quarterly numbers from the likes of DoorDash and Coinbase. And for those of you who are interested, there will be quarterly numbers from the likes of Tencent and Disney out tomorrow. That is it from me.